Hey guys, it's Luke here. What is today? Thursday, the 14th. So, as promised, I'd do a chat with you folks and cover your last minute questions. So, it doesn't look like anybody's freaking out too bad yet, and sorry, I keep seeing the splash up in front of me. Connection is weak, so hopefully you can catch me. I don't know. I'm on the back side of the office here, so I don't think I get as good of interwebs signal. In any case, this is probably recording anyway, so you can watch it. But so some last minute questions. You guys had some pretty interesting stuff, and definitely worth discussing. So what I'll do, like last time, is just kind of go through the Facebook feed and see what's happening. So first question was from Mike. Okay, here's one. Increasing carbs the week and days before a marathon causes me to retain a fair amount of water, mostly intermuscular. Yes, carbohydrate stores with water, so you will actually do both. You'll store carbohydrate and water, which is actually a good thing, especially if it is warm on Monday. This can lead to tightness in muscle fascia and some weight gain. Well, I mean, the tightness is going to be pretty mild, and the weight gain, 2 to 3 pounds, is pretty common. There's nothing that's actually, like I said, that's actually a good thing. I feel less light on my feet and a bit stiff. But I mean, this is the taper. It's not like you're not. Everybody's saying that. Like, I feel sluggish, I feel stiff, and you know, probably some of it is because of this. You're storing more water and storing more carbohydrate because you're not training as hard. But I really think a lot of that is superficial, as far as, you know, there's no real effect on it, and it's actually a good thing because you're maintaining some water, you're keeping some water, and you're storing carbohydrate, which is what you will need on race day. Should I also adjust my electrolyte intake during this time? I definitely would. I would just be making sure that you're getting mostly electrolytes in. Just you know, I have on my desk the Goo tabs. You know, I definitely, you know, not affiliated with them in any way. They just had a good deal and I got them. You know, some people like the Noon. There's a million different things out there for electrolyte tabs. I definitely think I'd be adding that to my water that you know, that you're drinking. You don't necessarily need to drink, you know, sports drink, but the electrolytes is definitely important. Any additional tips or recommendations for dealing with the loading phase not covered in the videos? You know, honestly, no. I feel like we've done a pretty good job of going through all that, and you know, but I just reiterate that, you know, 2 to 3 pounds of weight gain is pretty common for folks. I think if you're gaining like 5, 6, 7 pounds, then you probably should be looking at, like, if you're overeating. You know, what I would do is maybe take you know, the MyFitnessPal app, a free weight calorie tracking app, and just track what you're eating compared to what you're expending as far as your resting metabolic rate and your exercise. Because if you're eating as much as you were, you know, 2 weeks ago, then you're overeating this week because you're not, you know, your mileage is going to be about half of that. So so that's when I would be a little bit concerned. If you're putting on a significant amount of weight, like over 5 pounds, I'd be looking into it. But other than that, I feel like, yeah, watch those videos. And you know, just know that, like, so, you know, if you put on a few pounds now, you're only going to be losing that as the race goes on, which is actually going to improve your VO2 max, which, you know, is a good thing. So I wouldn't be freaked out about that. Jamie asked, just for clarification for us first-time Boston runners, mile 21. Yes, that is when you unleash the Hanson beast. That's where strength trumps going out too fast. You know, from 15, you know, 25K, so 15 and a half, to really about 20 and a half is the hill section. You will definitely notice when you get to the top of Heartbreak Hill, one, there's going to be a million people out there screaming, and two, as soon as you crest, you start going down, and you can really start letting it rip. You know, so once you get really from Heartbreak in, you have big crowds, and you know, you go through Boston College and all that, and you got, it's a really best of both worlds. But you just have to make sure you put yourself in a position to take advantage of that. And you know, we've talked about that a million times. But yeah, right around 21 is where you can start letting it rip a little bit. Uh, Sherry, I suppose when you talk about weather, it looks like a high of 70, which isn't great for folks starting near the 11. So I think what 11, and then somebody, maybe it was Linda, said something about 11:15 being the last wave, and she was going to be in that. Suggestion for adjusting goal pace. She's saying plus 15 seconds. I did my last 10 mile, blah, blah. So you're actually, okay, so let me looking at the forecast here, because I don't think it's as bad as what you guys are making it out to be, I think. So, okay, so here's what I'm looking at right now as of 11:05 a.m. on Thursday. Sunday night is a low of 41, so it's going to be 41, by midnight Sunday night. So it's going to be fairly cool in the morning of on Monday. And yes, you're looking at a high of 71 on Monday. So what, you reach a high at like what, or about 4 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock on the East Coast. I feel like in Michigan we get to it about 4 o'clock, but it also gets darker a little earlier on the East Coast. So I would say between 3 and 4 you're going to hit that peak time. So if you're starting at 11, you're going to have 3 hours of pretty ideal conditions. And I'm looking at the wind, and during Monday you have, right now it's saying a southwest wind of 11 miles an hour, which is going to be a tailwind. It means it's coming out of the southwest, so you're going to have a little bit of a tailwind slash crosswind, so you're going to be pretty good. I don't think you're going to be as bad off, but yes, you will get into like probably the mid 60s that last hour or so of your race. For you guys who are in the, you're used to warmer weather. Like, so today in Michigan, the high is going to be about 57 degrees, and it feels like a heat wave here because it's been very cold and windy the last couple of weeks. So for people like us in the Midwest, East Coast, where it's been kind of back and forth, you really haven't acclimated to a ton of good weather. Us are going to be more inclined to adjust by more, so like, the standard rule of thumb is anything above 60, you're looking at about 8 seconds a mile. But obviously if you're from the South and you're running in 60 to 70 degree weather all the time, you're going to have to adjust. You only need to adjust maybe about like 5 seconds a mile. Us folks up here where it's been snowing and cold and all that, and then maybe the Northwest or whatever, we're going to have to adjust by a little bit more because it's going to be a bigger shock to our system going from, like I said, today it's going to be in the 50s and it feels hot, to, somewhere it's going to be in the 60s. Then you're looking at maybe 10 to 15 seconds a mile. But you don't have to adjust that the whole time because you're only going to be above like that 60 degree mark for, the last, maybe the second half. So maybe you try to just go with it, see what your starting temperature is, and then go from there. So I think you kind of have a dynamic scale where that first couple hours is going to be pretty good. If you're starting at before 11, chances are you're going to be done by 2:30. You're probably not going to adjust at all. But if you're in that 11:15 group, and you're going to be over there for 4 hours or so, then you're looking at 3 to 4. Finish time between 3 and 4, and so that last hour you might be expecting to slow down a little bit, but I think that just makes it more, you focus on even splitting, and know you might lose a little bit of time based on the heat, but even then it's not going to be super warm, and if you have a tailwind, that's going to help. So how much that's going to affect it might actually balance itself out. So let me look at this. So is there a standard formula to help with this? Yeah, I kind of said that, really anything. So 60 to 65 is kind of that threshold. So let's say 60 degrees is the threshold. Every 5 degrees, you say, 5 to 10 seconds per mile slower. So if it's 70, you're looking at 10 to 20 seconds per mile slower, which like I said, for some of you who are in the southern, you've had some warmer weather, you're not going to be affected as much as what I think people coming straight from cold weather without any real adjustments going to be. So And remember too, if you were running inside and you were running on the treadmill, doing a lot of training on the treadmill, that, you're essentially training outside. You're training in an environment where it's 60, 65, 70 degrees. So that actually is going to help you out as well. Late in the day, yeah, I mean, but that was a different animal too. I mean, it was almost 80 degrees at the start, and the sun was very high in the air, and we didn't really have any cover. I know it's weird to say that we were in the city of LA, but it was very, very bright the whole time. Boston, you'll get cover, and let's see, let's say mostly sunny now for Monday, so you will have some sun, but you're going to be going from a fairly moderate temperature where you're not going to have to adjust to the last hour or two, and this is only for a few people, where it's going to be actually pretty warm that last hour. So again, like I said, it's going to be warm, but it's only going to be for between the clock time of between 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you have to take all that into account. So hopefully that answers. I know I kind of went off in tangents on there, but hopefully that helps. But again, really, I mean, 55 to 60 is not that warm. You don't have to adjust too much. I think once you get into the mid to upper 60s and the 70s is when you really have to start worrying about adjusting too much. And then Sherry also asked about family with the outside interactive. I'm going to have to say no on that, actually, because Gary emailed me. I emailed him a list, and we have about, with you folks and athletes we coach individually, we have about 50 people, and I actually didn't even extend this to people who we wrote custom schedules for and people who just bought the Boston specific training programs. So it would have been another like 30 or 40 people probably. And so I really limited it to you guys and the coached athletes. We're going to have about 50 people in that group. And Gary was pretty surprised by that. He thought it was going to be like 15 people. So he said it was going to be pretty tight already. So I would ask that you keep your family where they get. And honestly, I guess what I would question is, what are your family going to do after the race goes off? Because like my plan is to, I'm doing a workout Monday morning. My wife and her friend, they're getting on, not the buses you are, but the local running shop here up in Flint does like a tour bus type, a chartered bus from our hotel, the Back Bay Hilton, up to the starting line. And so they got on that, and so they got a nice ride up there, and then they'll hop off and go to the building. So there's no need for me to really be there. I'm going to do my workout, get ready, roll out, take the train out to Wellesley, and just watch people come through Wellesley. As soon as I see a number of people, I'm going to hop back on, or I got to see if the train schedule is for when it heads back. But basically, hop back on the train, take it back to Back Bay, and then get to the finish area. So that's what I'm going to do. I think once you get to Hopkinton, you're going to be kind of stuck for a while. So maybe think about what they're going to do afterwards. But as far as it's really just more of a space issue. I think with us and then the other people they invited, because I think they had some VIP people that they're trying to impress to get out there. So I would honestly say they probably shouldn't, just so we don't overstep our boundary, because they're already given us a lot, and I don't feel like we really did a lot for them. So I don't want to step on too many toes here. Let's see, Matt replied to that, so let's see what that. Yeah, I just along those lines. I personally feel like we didn't give much return in this partnership, so I don't want to take advantage of it either. So I'm trying to limit who we let in there. Aurelia, I'm sorry, I know you told me to pronounce it, but you probably just lying to make me feel nicer. But is it normal to feel a little run down, sore this taper? And then you follow it up with, I got an hour and a half massage. So yeah, you got the crap beat out of your legs, and now you feel bad. But honestly, that's fine. I think not. If you got it done on Friday, last Friday, that's good. You gave yourself a good full week to recover from that. And if you don't get massages very often, that can beat you up pretty good. So I think it's probably more of that. But in the long term, going into Boston, I think that's probably a good idea that you got that. So, but yeah, you're not gonna. I mean, think of it this way: you guys trained for 18 weeks hard, and taking that week of tapering isn't going to magically make you feel like $1,000,000. And I know exactly what your next question is going to be. Well, why don't we taper longer? But physiologically, you're getting what you need in that 10 days to 2 weeks of reduced training. And so but you might not just magically feel better. But honestly, I don't mind that, because I feel like if you feel super, super fit and you feel super, super fast, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go hammer that first 5K, and you're going to be a minute and a half faster than what you need to be, and you're just going to set yourself up for a very tough second half of the race. So if you have that in the back of your head and it causes you to start conservatively, then to me that's a victory, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I think that's good. And then you also ask about Boston baked beans. And I'm going to say yes, they will make you run faster. Actually, my mom always bought Boston baked beans. So that's the first thing I thought of. Sherry tail, a nice, good one. Or yeah, it depends if you're upwind or downwind, right? So that looks like that's about it. So I think the big thing here is the weather. And it's going to be more of an issue for you guys starting at like 10:50, 11:15. If you're looking to be out there past 3 o'clock going to 4 o'clock, that's when it's going to be the peak of the day. So again, I think that if it's 55 degrees at 11, then you're going to be okay. I would start out knowing you don't need to adjust, but know once you get to that last hour of your race, you might have to adjust a little bit, and that might be a race decision. But if you have a tailwind and you're feeling good and you're just pushing and you're blowing past people, you might not even notice it either. But so also with that said, I guess what I'd make sure is what you're doing is kind of what Mike was talking about with the hydration stuff. If you're taking care of that stuff now, and these last few days, and not completely worrying about it in Saturday and Sunday, then you're going to be in a better position too. And so having that little bit extra water weight is okay, and you're going to sweat that out anyway. And then so look at it this way. Let's say you weigh 150 pounds, and you can lose about 3% of your body weight in water weight before you really start feeling before it affects performance. So that gives us 4.5 pounds right there. So you could get down to 145.5. And so if your baseline's 150 and you put on 3 pounds of water weight / carbohydrate weight, the rest of this week going into Monday, that essentially gives us 7.5 pounds of water that we can lose before our performance is going to be affected. So going into that last hour, you might not even really notice it. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you have like I said, if you have a tailwind, you're passing people, you're running a good race, you might not even notice it. And if you have a good hydration plan for the race, which you should, if you've watched the videos and stuff, you should have a pretty good game plan by now. Then you might not even notice it, and you really could be okay. So that is my thought on it. And I do want to talk about this again with you, Sherry, on the heart rate. And I guess this is one of the reasons why, especially for racing, I'm not a big fan of heart rate, because you're saying I was off goal pace by 5 seconds a mile, but heart rate kept climbing, and I'm not sure I would have been able to hold that pace for 26.2. Well, one, that was a while ago, so and that's a different situation. But you can't go just by heart rate on that, because what will happen is cardiac drift, and that's just if you're out for an extended period of time, 2, 3, 4 hours, heart rate just climbs. So your effort might be the exact same as it was, but your heart rate's going to climb. It's just a phenomenon known as cardiac drift. So you can't, I mean, is it something to look at? Yeah, but it's not necessarily a determinant of how, you know, if you're fading or not. It's just a phenomenon that happens in the body. So I'd be very, very careful of that. So you might not have been as bad off as you think you were. And that's why I feel like heart rate has got to be a tool in conjunction with, you know, monitoring yourself, monitoring how hard your effort is, and monitoring your pace. So I would take all those things into account when you're looking at that. And I don't know if you're going to race with a heart rate. I can't see if it says if you're not going to or not, but you're going to be you're just going to have that cardiac drift. It happens to everybody, and people will often mistake that as an effort thing, and it's not an effort thing. It's just something that happens in the body. I don't know if it's a dehydration thing, an electrolyte thing, or not, but you know, it doesn't necessarily reflect your true intensity and true effort. So I would just keep that in mind too. So nobody left me any real-time questions, I don't think. Let me make sure here. Nope, looks like it's all on other stuff. So with that said, I will see you guys on Sunday at 10:30, and I'll wear something, you'll know, and you know my ugly mug anyway, so you'll recognize me. I probably won't recognize much of you guys, so you'll have to hawk me down. But plan is we'll meet at 10:30 at the finish line. If we take Wilson up to Fairfield, we can take that over to the little bridge over the road, and then onto that bike path over there, and we can just do a quick 30-minute run, and that'll take about 30 minutes, and then we'll get a picture. So I will probably get my main run in before that 30-minute shakeout, and I do not carry technology with me when I run other than my watch. So I'm pretty sure my wife's just going to kind of walk down there. So maybe she'll bring her phone. And if you guys want to bring, you know, if you run with a phone anyway or something, bring that. We can post it on the group, and then we can just, you know, kind of blast it out to everybody. Or you can email it to me, and then I can blast it out to everybody, because I'm sure folks will want a group picture. So maybe we can work at something like that. Might just make it easier. And honestly, with the shorts I run in, there's not much place to put a camera or a phone. So we'll see how it goes from there. And so other than that, you know, we'll see you on Sunday. We'll do that, and then get off your feet and rest up and hydrate and all that good stuff, and have fun on Monday. I mean, it's fun. You've worked hard, and there's no reason for no good performances. I mean, even if it's weather affected a little bit, but as of now, I feel pretty confident for you guys. So with that, we'll talk to you later, and I'll see you soon. It'll be fun meeting you guys, and we'll go from there, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the future. So good luck if I don't get a chance to talk to you individually, and yep, I'll see you Sunday. All right, see you guys.